Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and welcome to the SITREP for the Ukraine war or the special military operation in Ukraine for the day of 531 for the 8th of August. And today is the Singapore National Day, so I wish all Singaporeans a happy National Day. So let's start off with the Southern Front. At the Southern Front, suddenly things has flared up a little bit. It's not really flared up in a big way, but something happened. So the Ukrainians continued their amphibious operation. It had not been reported much by most of this OSIN, but Ryba decided to put some light on this, and there is some fighting being reported along this river here. So the Ukrainian forces have been sailing around here. They are trying to do rotation around this area here. Somehow they got engaged by Russian forces along nearby to this island and this island over here. So it's unclear exactly where the engagement was, but according to the pro-Russian source as well as by the Russian Defense Ministry. So the Russian Defense Ministry first reported by the Dnieper group of forces. They say that they prevented a redeployment of Ukrainian forces by boat near the mouth of the Dnieper River or the Dnipro River, and the troops fired with small arms and rocket propelled grenades, destroying 3 speedboats. And which is why I say that this is very interesting, because that means there are Russian forces, ground forces, infantry that is actually near this island area here. And Ryba reported that these are actually taken out by artillery. So depending on who you want to believe, the Russian Defense Ministry or Ryba, it seems like the Ukrainian boats that were traveling down maybe this area here, there are Russian forces maybe around this area here that actually fires upon this Ukrainian forces, which means that the Russians are themselves doing amphibious operation somewhere around all this area here. So this is something very interesting, that the Russians finally decided that they need to have some deployment along these islands along the Dnipro River. There is also amphibious operation near Dachi, basically at the Antonovsky Bridge. The Ukrainians sent 2 boats for rotation. One of the boats was destroyed allegedly. So the Ukrainian forces are still here. They are leaving in a really treacherous place, and they continue to hold this bridgehead around here, but not doing much. Previously, we have these reports about them doing some recon out. This recon did not really hold any ground, so nothing really exactly happened there. And the Ukrainian forces previously, also I mentioned about this, they landed just opposite across the Pridniprovsky town. And along this railway bridge, they have this little bridgehead here. The Russian forces actually attacked it. They actually attacked this bridgehead over here. According to Ryba, they say there are rifle battles being noted. They have not ejected the Ukrainians out just yet. They only mention about tactical success and tactical success. So and then there was also yet another landing by the Ukrainian forces along the Konka River. They landed on the western part of Kozachi Lahere, which Kozachi Lahere is here. The Ukrainian forces actually landed around here, and they actually traveled eastward, and they actually engaged Russian forces. Information comes from Ryba. They mentioned about DRG, 7 DRG of 6-7 people each actually landed. So that actually makes it around 49 people, or up to 42 to 49 people, and they landed, and then they actually attacked the western flank of this Kozachi Lahere. And this actually they got pushed back. The attack got pushed back, but which means that the Ukrainians actually have some kind of a position now on this side of this island. I did believe this is the island. No, this is actually a southern bank. So this is actually literally on the southern bank of this Dnipro River now. So the Ukrainians actually landed here. This is not an island. This is an island. This is an island. This is an island. Because you can see there's a river here going through all the way. So this is an island, but this is not. So this is actually the first position I believe that the Ukrainians actually managed to land on the southern part of the Dnipro River, and they theoretically can actually fan out and create a lot of problems for the Russian forces, and this could also be a deployment area, a beachhead for them to continue to penetrate and cause more problems in the rear positions. Whether the how tight is the defenses along this area on the Russian side is kind of unknown. It's known to be quite tight. Whether they can actually do this kind of deployment to hit the rear of the Russian positions is unclear, but it does show that this front line here is starting to change. Maybe they have something to do with the strikes in Crimea to break up the supply line. So maybe because the Ukrainians have been hitting this area here as well as the Crimean Bridge, and maybe this caused a break in terms of the resupply that was supposed to go to this area here, and this allows the Ukrainians to actually do this landing and start to create a bigger bridgehead in the southern part of the Kherson region. So moving on into the Zaporizhia front, we have nothing at the Kamsky sector. Around at the Orikhiv sector, the fighting is being reported around this area here. Fighting is being reported at Robotine as the Ukrainian forces continue their attack against Robotine. There's nothing much to really talk about in terms of this. This is reported by Ryba. There is some fighting. So the Russian forces actually did some preemptive action, which means that they actually went on the offensive, a limited offensive, because it's just actions. It's not like assault operations, and along multiple locations, Zakhirny, Orikhiv, Malatomashka, and Novoselivska. And so one of them is actually Malatomashka. It's unclear if they actually do shelling or they actually do some pushing. And there's also shelling probably reported at Orikhiv, according to this report. And the other one is actually at Zakhirny. We are now into the Huaypole sector. This is actually at Zakhirny. So maybe the Russians make some push in this area here, striking Ukrainian positions, and then we have another one at Novoselivska. So this is the second time we have these reports over here. I have checked the pro-Ukrainian mapping, and the pro-Ukrainian mapping did not actually also map it so far away. The front line is actually just around here. So not sure how do they come up with this location in terms of the fighting. And so anyway, this is actually Russians are making active actions to grind down the Ukrainian forces that is probably gathering for offensive actions. Over at the Velika Novosilka sector, this is Velika Novosilka, and the Ukrainians continue their offensive at Urozhaine. They continue to attack from the north against the Russian forces that is holding this town over here. There is, however, interesting interesting geolocation of Ukrainian forces actually entered the northern part of Urozhaine. So the Ukrainian forces actually is fighting around this area here, and they have APCs or BMPs landing the infantries, and then they were engaged by the Russian forces that is actually holding around this area here. So this actually shows that the Ukrainians are continuing their effort to grind into Urozhaine, and is probably making progress since they have started to enter the town. And interestingly though, the Ukrainian forces, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that the Russians did try the attack in the Staromayorsky region. So which means the Russians are actually counter-attacking over here while they are holding the position here as the Ukrainians were attacking at Urozhaine. So this is the situation over at the Velika Novosilka sector. We have nothing over at Priotne. And moving into the Donetsk region, we have fighting reported at Mykolaiv. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they defended Ukrainian attack at Mykolaiv. So which means the Ukrainian forces, after making this push, might be actually attacking into Mykolaiv, where the Russians are actually holding their defense line. So maybe that's actually something that is happening. We do not see this from the other sources. Only Russian Defense Ministry mentioned this. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported their customary, Russians attacking in the Marinka region, as well as they reported Russian offensive actions over at Novomikhailivka. most likely is around this around this area here, around the Menegeri. So the Russian forces are attacking maybe in this area here. Moving on into the Avdiivka front. At the Avdiivka front, we have no more reports of Ukrainian attacking. This time around, only the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reporting that the Russians are attacking. There is fighting reported at Giverny, at Avdiivka itself, which I believe is from Krotabalka, and also towards Novokalinove. So information is all coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, with the Russian forces making maybe limited assault in this area here. I would say that you do not need to care that this much about this. Moving on, there's nothing else over at the New York front. Moving into the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, there is fighting being reported near Zaiseve. This is actually corroborated by both defense ministry. The Russian defense ministry reported that the Ukrainians are repelled near Zaiseve or Zaisevo, and the Ukrainian defense ministry reported that they defended against Russian attack. So there must be some kind of engagement around this area here. So both sides are saying that they are defending. So we shall see what is actually happening as we go along. Similar situation over at Klishchiivka is as well. Both sides reported that they are the one defending the position. However, the Ukrainians most likely is on the offensive, especially over in the southern part of Klishchiivka and Andriivka. Information coming from Ryba reported that the Ukrainian forces are on the offensive along the Andriivka Klishchiivka line. So they mentioned that these are only infantry assault, whereas the artillery and tanks are only providing fire support. The tanks are not pushing in because modern warfare seems to be pretty disadvantageous for armored vehicles. So the Ukrainian forces are holding a line and then providing fire support as the infantry push forward into this area here. And as a result of this push, it looks like the Ukrainians have entered into Klishchiivka again from the southern side. So we shall see whether the Ukrainians are able to follow through and capture Klishchiivka this time around. And there is also interesting reports from the Russian Defense Ministry mentioned fighting near Artyomov, which is basically Bakhmut. And it's unclear where the attack comes from, so I can't really put it here. Maybe it could be from Yakhini region. They could be attacking from the north of Krumove. It's unclear where the Ukrainians are attacking. Is it here, or is it here, or is it here? So let's see. But I don't think it's a wise decision to attack into the city. So it's going around it probably make more sense. And that's all from the Bakhmut front. Moving into the Sivas front, we have nothing over the Sivas front. We go into the Crimea front. At the Crimea front, there is no fighting being reported in the Serebransky forestry, interestingly. And however, we do have Ukrainians attacking at Terny, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, as well as at towards Zilivka. Zilivka is actually over here. So the Ukrainian forces is attacking around this area here, making a push. So far, no clear other indications whether the Ukrainians are successful or not. The Russians, of course, will always say that they repelled the attack, but sometimes they repel the attack, the front line still move backwards. So, and that's all from the Crimea front. And moving into the Svatove front. At the Svatove front, we have fighting being reported at Novoyehorivka. This is actually reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. Interestingly, they say that they repelled Ukrainian forces near Novoyehorivka, which is actually Novoyehorivka. So that actually makes it very unclear whether the Russians actually have control over it, or actually they are actually behind, where the Ukrainians are actually attacking, trying to attack out of Novoyehorivka. We are not sure, but what we do know is the fighting is around this area here, and which also corroborates that the front line is actually more or less correct. The front line is at Novoyehorivka. Just that is it in front or behind it is unclear. In the northern flank of the Svatove front, there is Ukrainian counterattack for Novoselivsky. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, with the Ukrainians attacking to recapture Novoselivsky. Basically, that's about it. That's all we know. that's all from the Svetove front. Moving into the Kupiansk front. At the Kupiansk front, the Russian forces continue their Kupiansk offensive. Fighting is being reported at KHERSON, Pershotravneve, Vyshana, and Sinkivka. With information coming from the pro-Russian source Ryba about KHERSON, fighting reported at KHERSON, and there is also fighting reported at Pershotravneve. According to the mapping by, I believe, either Ryba or is it Surya Maps, it seems like Timkovka might be captured by the Russian forces. I cannot fully verify this just yet, but it seems like it, as the Russian forces continue to push the front line back, and this pushing of the Ukrainian lines backwards does feels like the Ukrainian lines may crack soon, because the further you get pushed back, the less defense lines you have, or the defensive position you have, which means the lines will crack faster. So this must be very concerning for the Ukrainian side. Fighting also reported at Vyshana. This information coming from the Russian Defense Ministry and Ryba. Similarly, the lines are getting pushed back. Previously was actually here. So yeah, things are getting really tense for the Ukrainians over here. Fighting is being reported at Sinkivka. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they say that the Russians attacked at Sinkivka. However, the Zapad group of forces on the Russian side reported that the Ukrainians did try to counterattack at Sinkivka. So fighting is definitely ongoing for Sinkivka. Ukrainian forces, in reaction to this deterioration of the situation, deteriorating. Oh my god, I cannot pronounce that word. In worsening situation over at the Kupiansk front, they sent reinforcement to Sinkivka. Allegedly, it's going to be, they are the 95th Airborne Brigade, so these are the better trained forces, I believe, to try to hold the line at least at Sinkivka, as the Russian forces continue to make this push across the entire front line. So situation is definitely quite bad. Reinforcement is also reported at Urozhaine, but this is unclear which unit are they, according to Ryba, but they did note that there are reinforcements, which also suggests that there are pro-Russian elements or civilians in the area that have been reporting, or there could be Ukrainian troops that are actually, diverging operational secrets to the enemies. So that's all from the Kupiansk front. We have nothing over the Kharkiv front and nothing at the border region. So just some conclusion. The Ukrainian forces is definitely giving it another try over at the southern part of Bakhmut, and they are definitely very desperate to capture Klishchiivka. They have sacrificed too much to give up now, so they will go for it, as well as Andriivka. The Russian forces are making some tactical arrangement, to improve their tactical positions along the Zaporizhia front. Ukrainian forces definitely still going for Robotine. The entering of Ukrainian forces into the northern part of Urozhaine thus seems encouraging for the Ukrainian side. However, tentative rumors is that the Ukrainian forces cannot hold a foothold just yet, but we shall see how this goes. And with this report of Russian by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry about Russians counterattacking at Staromayoske, does suggest that this is still very, very contested. Like I mentioned earlier, the Kupiansk front is actually particularly concerning for the Ukrainian side, because the front line was previously reportedly around here, and then it was pushed back, and then now it pushed back again. There will be limited defense line left before things will start to collapse. So if the Russians continue to make this progress nearer and nearer to the main road, I suspect the line might actually break. Like there will be some part where it will totally break and then cause a Russian salient to appear. So this is going to be very tricky for the Ukrainians. Otherwise, the entire Svetove front situation becomes very dull right now. The Russians are securing their lines after they are actually securing what they have already captured, and the Ukrainians are trying to counterattack, and likely it's not going to succeed unless it's going to be a very strong offensive action by the Ukrainian side. Crimea front, nothing much to talk about. And where else? Fighting, as I said, is interesting, which is actually the Ukrainian, as per I mentioned before, the Ukrainians are trying to follow through what Prigozhin, the Wagner boss, have mentioned before. This is the direction that they want to go towards, because this actually established them a good defense line that they can defend. Basically, it's also what the original line the Russians wanted before the Wagner went rogue. Where else? Another interesting part is Voleda region. The fighting reported at Mykolaiv does seems like the Ukrainians are going to continue this push to recapture the entire Dacha region and then go for Mykolaiv and probably even go for Palivka. But these are all pretty strong Russian positions right now, so I'm not sure if the Ukrainians can break it, but we shall see how this goes. I think this is actually a very interesting part of the front line that is underreported, but the Ukrainians are making good progress. So I think that's about it. So this is the summary, and thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe, and again, happy National Day to all of you, Singaporeans, and I'll see you in the next update.